Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to another edition of the ODPH Entertainment Edition. I am your host, Ken M. Sitting across from me this week is the one, the only, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to discuss. Let's waste no more time. Hashtag it up with us. Hashtag ODPHEE if you want to join the conversation on social media, because, hey, we want to hear from you. Now, there is a lot of stories going on this week, but one really kind of jumped out in front of us this week.
Oh, yeah.
There is going to be a Avengers spinoff officially announced, dare I say, for the Disney streaming service in 2019.
I don't know if I'd necessarily call it a spinoff, maybe a side story, because they're not going to be like real long or multiple seasons, I don't think.
No, it's a limited series, but this is very telling. It was announced that there is going to be a limited series featuring the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Loser gets Captain America's shield. Oops.
No, I honestly think that that's what it's going to be.
I mean, I know I've seen that joked online.
But it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
If you followed the comics, both of these characters have heavy ties to Steve Rogers, a.k.a. Captain America. Both of these characters take the mantle of Captain America during some portion of time in the Marvel 616 universe. This makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I also think this is going to be a spinoff from Avengers 4.
It could be.
Because it's been well documented that Chris Evans is not coming back as Captain America thus far.
Yeah, I'd say at current present time, no. In the future, yeah, probably.
I would imagine at some point, I think that as Marvel is shifting phases and whatever direction they're going to go after Avengers 4, he will come back in some way, shape, or form.
Plus, the other thing of it is you can imagine Kevin Feige, Marvel, Disney want the Marvel movies to go on as long as humanly possible. So, ergo, you don't want to have to rely on Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth. You want to be able to have this thing going and not really go, okay, well, we need to bring in Chris Evans for another movie, so we keep going. No, you want to be able to have this thing going, ergo, you don't want to have to depend on them forever. So it would make sense to have Chris Evans leave for a while, somebody else takes up the mantle, runs with it for a while, you bring him back for a little bit, then he goes away. It makes sense. They do it in the comics.
Oh, they do it quite often in the comics, but for the cinematic universe, this is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. Because in the comics, Bucky Barnes takes over after Civil War as Captain America, and obviously with Steve Rogers presumed dead, that he decides that it's written that was his final wish for Bucky to take over the mantle.
Right.
And for Sam Wilson to take over the mantle, I believe it was when Steve Rogers was aged to his proper age.
Yeah, if memory serves, he had the super soldier serum taken out of him, ergo, he lost that youthful vigor.
And he could not obviously do the duties as Captain America, so Sam Jackson. I keep wanting to say Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
But it's Sam Wilson. Apologize for that. We're talking MCU, Samuel L. Jackson is such a big part of it. It just kind of rolls off the tongue. But Sam Wilson plays such a big role in the Captain America universe that obviously when he takes over the role. And then there's kind of that dual period when Steve Rogers gets his youth back. And then, it's obviously there's multiple Captain Americas. Marvel went through this for a little phase.
It was messy.
Absolutely. So to see where this is going to go, I obviously think this falls right into the aftermath of Avengers 4.
It could be, but the thing of it is, we don't know when this is. Of course, they're also doing the Loki show and the Scarlet Witch show. Loki, as we currently sit here in 2018, is, dead. So you don't want knowing these are going to take. It's very likely this could take place after Avengers 4. I just want to see more of the two of them, and I'm glad we're seeing that because there was the one scene, I forget what movie it's in, but where they're singing in the car, and Sam asks, "Can you move your seat up?" And Bucky goes, "No."
Yeah, I want to say it was Civil War.
That might have been. Yeah, that was it.
If I'm not mistaken. But obviously with this being announced, and now this is the third Avengers spin-off series, I guess, being announced for the Disney streaming service, this is kind of giving more fuel to the fire in the rumor that Marvel is pulling all of their programming from the Netflix shared universe to them because they can obviously go somewhere if they want to. It has not been officially announced that Jessica Jones and Punisher and Daredevil have been canceled by any means for Netflix. The only two shows we know are Iron Fist and Luke Cage. Obviously, there's going to be some more series coming out under the Netflix banner, Punisher season 2 is coming very shortly.
Yeah, I would imagine because it seems all more than likely at this point that everything Marvel on Netflix is going to be leaving. They won't announce Daredevil for a while because the show just came out. There's still going to be people watching it. There's still people just digging into it. Plus, you've got the next season of Jessica Jones coming, so they're not going to want to announce, hey, we're canceling Jessica Jones, because that will just absolutely tank any because no matter what it is, if it's just, hey, we're just canceling it so we can bring it over to the Disney streaming service, no, people are going to read the headline, canceled. Oh, hey, by the way, there's another season of Jessica Jones coming out. Why would I want to watch it? It's been canceled.
Well, it's a very interesting play by Netflix to do if they decided to go that route. But one thing I was going to bring up is Netflix has been very quick to announce renewals lately. I know they did this, and we're talking apples and oranges, but they've already announced Castlevania has been renewed for season 3.
Right.
And season 2 just came out.
Right. I think the reason, though, and I've seen this speculated a lot, because I know they've given up on some shows that they revived from traditional TV. The name of what it is escaping me, but they didn't bring it back for another season. People are kind of going, well, why not? It was great. A lot of people loved it. It was
it Lost in Space?
No, it wasn't Lost in Space. Lost in Space is their own thing, and that's going to get to my point. Lost in Space was renewed for season 2. The general speculation is Netflix is wanting to get more towards their own created content so that they have full control over it. Ergo, that's why Castlevania has been renewed real quick. Lost in Space was renewed almost immediately after the season premiered, if not like a week or so after. That's why with some of these stuff that isn't produced, the Marvel shows aren't produced by them. It's produced by Marvel. Netflix is just, hey, we're just the people who put it out for you. And
they're the middleman.
They're the middleman in the whole thing. They want, the general speculation is they want to get to more stuff that they have control over and they have say over. So that's why they're letting go of some of this stuff.
And it's interesting to see how this plays out, because obviously with the success of Daredevil season 3, which has been critically and fan praised left and right across the board, to not have it get immediately renewed I want to say it's kind of telling.
Yeah.
Just to see that I figured if any series was going to get renewed right away, it was going to be Daredevil, obviously with how the success of the past season has been. So to see it being kind of, very hush-hush, and especially after very two public cancellations from the MCU, to see that it's kind of gone radio silent, I think is very telling, where now you're seeing the Disney streaming services going, hey, we've got 3 new series coming out.
Right.
Obviously, it's going to be based in the Avengers family, so to speak, instead of the Defenders. But still, to the point, Marvel is making some noise about their characters and what their future is going to be on the streaming service. And obviously with Loki, there hasn't been any announcement of what that show is going to be based on. Is it going to be post-Avengers, or is it going to be a prequel?
I'd like to see it be before Thor 1.
I honestly think it's going to be. I mean, there was a time in the period where he had his own series, albeit though it's a long, complicated story, but he was the main character in Journey into Mystery, which was a long-standing Marvel comic. And obviously, if I'm not mistaken, it was when he was Kid Loki.
Oh, yeah.
So would they go that route? Debatable. I don't think they would, but there's enough of a prequel with his character that they could go.
Oh, yeah. And plus Loki in the MCU, you know a bit of his backstory, but you don't really know everything. There's room to work with.
Oh, absolutely. And with Scarlet Witch, it's kind of an open slate, because I don't think they're going to go into a lot of her comic history, albeit though now with Magneto coming over from the Fox deal,
right,
they could go there if they wanted to.
It all depends on when the show comes out. As it stands, as we've said before, they can't do anything with that Fox owns. They'll tank the deal if they touch anything. Now, if the Scarlet Witch show is, if they're not writing anything, they're not working on it, because they've announced it, we don't know when it's coming. If they wait until after the Fox deal goes through, they're full and free to do whatever they want. If they wait until after the deal is finalized and it's announced and it's, everything's put to bed, then they can do whatever the heck they want with it. As it stands right now, if they're working on it right now, they can't go anywhere near it.
No, and they really shouldn't, because I think what would be the smart play for it is Scarlet Witch is, if you want to establish her origin as is going to be in the Avengers MCU, then build off that. I mean, I don't think they're going to do any post stories involving her per se, but it's not to say it's out of the realm of thought, because the one thing that would be really kind of interesting to do if they want to go that route, but obviously with the Fox deal, it kind of holds everything up, if they somehow do this as a lead-in for House of M.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Which to see that take, and I know there's a lot of moving parts involved with it.
Right.
I don't think that would be, but I'm just throwing that out there, that maybe that'd be some kind of story, because for the most part, Scarlet Witch has not had that many regular series or limited series to my knowledge. She's always been paired with the Vision or heavily tied in with the Avengers.
Right.
So obviously with a limited series, you do get to delve into her history as a character, and I think it's a good look too, to see what really is behind the Scarlet Witch and what really makes her tick.
Yeah.
So if they went that route, that would be something to see. Albeit though, if they want to tie it into House of M, that would be something very interesting to see as well.
I can see them planting the seeds for it. That seems like something you do down the road. I can see them planting seeds for it, though, because anything with the Marvel movies and Marvel TV shows, they like to plant seeds.
Oh, absolutely. And it does make a lot of sense to do, because depending on what direction they want to go with these limited series now, and I still think they should just call them Marvel Comics Presents. I will say it once, I'll say it again. Everything should just be under the banner.
Yeah.
And then that way you can spin it on any characters you want. Because obviously with Avengers 4 being as hyped as it's going to be, and the trailer we've been told is coming out sometime before year's end.
I'm banking on sometime this month. Don't know when. This month.
I'm banking Thanksgiving. That I will say during the NFL primetime game.
I could be.
I'll just throw that out there, and let's see if I'm right. Hashtag it up with me, ODPHEE. But in closing for the segment, though, this is huge news for Marvel and on many levels. Because if you weren't really excited about the streaming service prior, this is enough incentive to really make you buy into the whole Disney Marvel streaming service. Because as an Avengers fan, this is going to have ramifications. Like I said, I think they're going to go for kind of almost a battle for the mantle,
right,
so to speak, between Falcon and
Bucky.
Thank you. I think that's the direction they go with the series.
I think that's all the more likely, because prior to Civil War, they really didn't have any interaction. So it's not like they went missing for a couple of years and they were on the run and doing missions and stuff. So it's not like you could go, oh, hey, let's, it's not like if it were Steve and Natasha, where, there's clearly some history there in Cap 2 where they talk about the past. They talk about missions they run. They could do something like that.
Yeah.
There's nothing really there. So ergo, the only thing they could, at least as we sit here and discuss it, that they could do is something post-Avengers.
Yeah, and I think that would be the smart play, because obviously whatever's going to happen now after Avengers 4, it's going to be a whole new ballgame. I think you're going to see a lot of new characters involved. I think the changing of the guard, so to speak, is going to be a really big sweep across the board.
Oh, yeah.
And where they go from there, it's going to be really telling, but I think that this is just something to get people excited about the streaming service. And obviously what unfolds after that is going to be something to watch and see. But let us know what you think. Hashtag it up with us, ODPHE. What's your thoughts on the latest Disney streaming service announcement? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Mike C. from I Am Horror. You're listening to the ODPH, the most killer podcast on the planet.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, and dare I say we're now in countdown mode.
Counting down the minutes.
Because this coming Sunday, as we're recording, is going to be allegedly the last episode of The Walking Dead featuring one Andrew Lincoln, a.k.a. Rick Grimes. Now, we saw on this past week's episode, and we are going to be talking spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Rick was impaled on a broken bridge.
Well, I wouldn't say impaled. He was stabbed. Impaled would imply came out the other side, but
well, he did go through him.
It went in him. Yeah.
He was bucked off a horse onto some jagged metal, and he now has a gaping wound with multiple walkers coming after him. So obviously, this coming Sunday is going to be a trip down memory lane. And dare I say, his final episode. Now, I have not heard the runtime yet. I would imagine we're looking at probably an hour and a half.
I would, for something this monumental, and as much as they've been hyping it up,
And obviously, with how the ratings have been this season, and the announcement that this was going to be his last season, I think it's going to be really telling to see how many people tune in.
Right.
Because the season thus far has actually been very good.
Yeah.
I would say it's been a lot better than the past previous seasons. And I mean, I've been very vocal on this show about how All Out War was a letdown.
It was all right, but it wasn't the greatest.
No, it definitely wasn't. And they are taking steps in the right direction to fix that. I will say that. Albeit, though, they are kind of forcing some storylines, the whole Jadis Gabriel romance down our throats. And I really am just saying this is eating up screen time when they could be doing something else.
Yeah.
And
I can understand hinting at it and kind of alluding to it, but yeah, when you're spending entire scenes and like multiple minutes over it, I'm like, I don't really care.
And another thing too, which has kind of been very, I don't want to say annoying, but I'm going to say that word. The time jumps are not explained.
No.
From episode to episode.
No. No, we don't necessarily need a cue card on screen of like, like a SpongeBob like 2 hours later. But like something indicating like in a piece of conversation or something, just kind of hinting at like how much time has passed.
Yeah, because it's somewhat confusing when they're talking about events happening and you just thought, oh, it was last week. Well, no, this is actually 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Because prior to this, because the thing with time advancement in the series has always been funky. The only time I can remember in the series that they've ever hinted at time advancement was earlier in the show, where typically the season would end right as it was getting cold, and the walker, because the thing that's established in the comics is when it gets cold, the walkers don't move as fast. They kind of move slower if they move at all, and the season would end when it's getting colder, and then it'd pick right back up as it's getting warmer. And I remember them not explicitly saying that, but they were hinting at it.
Yeah.
So other than that, there's never been really anything for time advancement other than the hair on Rick's face.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can tell is just how Rick's facial hair kind of happens, and just how weathered and worn I guess he's looking on the show. But I mean, overall though, I thought it was kind of a very interesting play that the producers of The Walking Dead wanted to announce, prior to the season starting, that Andrew Lincoln would be leaving.
Right.
And then obviously they've been having a countdown to his last episode a couple episodes ago, actually.
Yeah.
They really kind of said, 2 more episodes left with Rick Grimes.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there as a viewer and I'm going, you know what? I don't want to know this.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the whole thing about The Walking Dead when it was in its, I gotta say, when it was in its prime. I mean, it's still a very good show.
Yeah.
But it's kind of lost a little bit of its luster over the years.
It's a little dirty. It's a little rusty.
Well, you go 9 years and you've really kind of, I don't want to say they've jumped the shark and they don't really have anything to talk about, because they do. But when it's pretty much the same wash, rinse, repeat, and they kind of got away from when they would kill off major characters suddenly. Mm-hmm. And they would do a very shocking move out of nowhere.
Right, like this season 2 mid-season finale where I'm blanking on the little
Sophia.
Sophia walks out and she's dead, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah. When they got away from that, and they went, I don't want to say more soap opera-ish.
Yeah, a little bit.
But a little bit. Season 3 really went that route.
A little bit.
They really kind of steered the show away from the core essence. And obviously they've made attempts to come back to the books and follow a little more explicitly, and it's had mixed results. Mm-hmm. I will say the thing that I think has changed the show dramatically is the reaction from fans on Glenn's death.
Yes.
Because comic fans know this was happening, and this was nothing new.
Well, I think the fans who hadn't read the comics had been kind of jaded ever since they faked Glenn's death. Because you remember there was that scene.
The dumpster scene.
There was the dumpster scene where fans were like, for weeks, I don't remember how long it was, whether it was the next week or like 2 weeks or something, but like for a while they were like hyper analyzing the entire thing and like, oh, here's how it happened. So they got rubbed the wrong way with that one. And then they get the Walking Dead equivalent of the Red Wedding. Yeah. Which, I mean, again, it's the Red Wedding for Walking Dead. Readers knew it was coming. You just watched the show, you had no idea.
No, you had no idea, but the readers of the show have known. I mean, anybody who walked into a comic book shop and picked up Walking Dead 100 knew what was going to happen. And this was as close to a panel for panel.
Oh, yeah.
That you're going to see. I mean, obviously they switched out a couple moving parts with Abraham.
Right.
But for the most part, this was like the shock and, the awe and just how violent it was, which I think threw a lot of fans for a loop. And to see them kill off a major character, while I thought it was a great play on the sense of, okay, this was kind of shocking because they threw the red herring out, no pun intended, because it was Abraham getting killed first.
Right. Well, and they've also threw out the red herring that people were like turning to every news article written about it, because you remember when they were filming that actual scene, they filmed one for every single cast member.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And I thought it was a smart move by them, because then they cover their bases if anything gets leaked out.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, we got away from that.
Yeah.
And it also took like the suspenseful anything could happen atmosphere out of the show. And I want to say things became predictable.
I want to say, for me, that kind of happened before. Like I said, I still enjoy the show. It's not as great as it used to be, but for me, the show was at its greatest when the walkers were, and I know a lot of people have said this, where the walkers were a threat, where I think back, the thing that first pops into my mind is the governor.
Yeah.
Governor was like the first major villain they had, where, you know, they were in the prison, and the prison walls were, and the fences were there, so they felt kind of protected, but at the same time, they were right there, and they're still, oh crap, we got to deal with this. And, oh hey, we're going to get into a gunfight with the governor and his forces. Oh crap, here comes a bunch of walkers. What are we going to do? Now it's almost like you look at the last couple episodes where they've been building this bridge.
Yeah.
And they've had a plan for the walkers. Like they're never worried about the walkers unless something goes wrong, like whatever happened with the walkie-talkie. And all of a sudden the walkers are on top of them. They're never worried about it. They're never, oh hey, you know, what are we going to do? How are we going to get past this? It's just, oh hey, walkers.
Yeah, it's been something that, like I said, I think the show has really kind of gone away from what made it great. I mean, it's been good. Don't get me wrong, and obviously we're going to hear from some Walking Dead fans on this one. But my point, what I'm saying with this is I thought it was just a bad play that they decided to announce Andrew Lincoln was leaving, because for me, that went away from what really made the show great.
Yeah.
And that was the surprise element that you didn't know what was going to happen.
I would have been fine with it if they would have said, you know, even if the producers would have gone, hey, we're going to have a major event happen some point this season before the mid-season break. That would have been awesome, because I would have been like, oh, what's it going to be? Because I know you and I would have started sitting here speculating what it is gone off the comics.
It would have made a segment.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Without question.
But, I mean, we look back to when Legends of Tomorrow, when I forget the actor's name,
Victor Garber?
Victor Garber left, and they announced it like the day the episode aired, or like the day before the episode aired. And then we're like, why are they announcing he's leaving? And then you watch the episode. Oh, that's why.
Yeah, it's just, I think it ruins the show, and I think it ruins the build-up, because obviously if you saw this past week's episode where Rick and Daryl are fighting and finally addressing the season finale from last year, and you obviously see how that plays out, where they go into the pit, and there's a herd of zombies coming after them, and magically they survive, and they're getting out based off, what, tree branches?
I think it was roots.
Or roots, yeah. I mean, either way, you knew nothing was going to happen to Rick, because guess what? Rick makes it to next week's episode.
Right.
So you knew something he was going to be okay. And obviously they're not going to go near Daryl on
No.
the show. So I mean, it was kind of like almost anticlimactic, because for them, it's going to be, you know, that's the final moment they see each other, probably. And,
well, Jay ruins the theory I had a couple weeks ago where Maggie kills Rick and then Daryl kills her. There goes my theory.
Oh, the theory's out the window.
Uh-huh.
And obviously I think this goes into setting up for what's going to happen, because obviously with Rick getting killed off, and all signs point to that happening.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see how it doesn't. This now goes to what the group is going to do to react, and his final wish is, you know, obviously he wants peace with everybody, and
good luck with that.
And bring people together. So any plans to get rid of Negan is out the window. So now Negan is, dare I say, saved, no pun intended.
Saved from one portion of the group, maybe. Maggie's good. With Rick gone, I think the only thing stopping Maggie from going into that prison cell, holding Negan, guns blazing, and just popping him off on the head is Rick. Rick, like, she still, as much as she may hate Rick for how it was handled, and Glenn and Negan, there's still a little ounce of respect for the guy.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't have made it as far as he did without being somewhat of a BA.
Well, I'll grant you that, but I'll even throw another element in the story that we haven't even talked about. Lauren Cohen's leaving the show.
This is true.
This was already announced. Or she's going to be doing a new show for ABC. So we do know that is for fact.
She might be leaving for a little bit. She may also be coming back.
Yeah. So we don't exactly know what her goodbye is going to be from the show. I mean, it could be a temporary one. It could be she gets killed off. She might get killed by Negan, for all we know.
That could be. Negan is a very resourceful and very tricky person. He could play her like a fiddle and then toss her out the window as soon as he doesn't need her.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of different elements that are going to happen moving forward. But for Rick's legacy on the show, and obviously getting rid of your lead actor.
Which this is almost unheard of.
Yeah, this is a little crazy to hear that the show is going to continue on without him,
right,
and go a completely different direction.
Only thing I can relate this to or think of is when they killed off Jonathan Kent in Smallville. And now when they were leading up to this, it was the 100th episode that they killed him off. And they led up to it, I remember, teasing there was going to be a major death, but they didn't say who it was. They were kind of, hey, there's a major death coming up, but, you know, they didn't say who. And then obviously it was Jonathan Kent. So this is like the only thing I can compare it to where, like, you have a major character dying off in, like, the middle of the show.
Yeah. So obviously, to see what happens here, I mean, there's going to be so many ramifications from this. Mm-hmm. Because obviously Rick is still alive in the books.
Yeah.
He's still the focal person in the books.
I think anything that is Rick's story to a degree is going to be probably end up with Daryl.
I agree too.
Obviously not everything, but portions of it.
Well, I think the good majority of it. I mean, it's kind of like how they've written Michonne. That's how Andrea was in the books.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been kind of a different character that we've seen on the show. It's like a mix of both, I guess I would say.
Yes.
Just, Andrea and Michonne's characters.
Say there's that love for Rick, but there's that also, don't screw with me or I'll take your head off.
Yeah, which I think works. But but just to go to show you that I think whatever Rick had to do in the storyline now is going to get shifted to Daryl. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be something moving forward we're going to have to kind of watch and see. So before we close out the segment, what is your favorite Rick Grimes moment from The Walking Dead?
I've got to say probably that entire first episode. Because you think, and I haven't seen the episode in a while, so I might be getting a little bit of it wrong, but like the majority of that episode is him by himself.
Yeah.
Where, okay, yeah, he's with Shane at the beginning and he wakes up in the coma, but like then just everything with that first episode, because it, like, you're watching the show, and if for me, I'd never read the comics, I never knew anything about it, but I'm watching that first episode, I'm like, all right, what the heck's going on? Oh my gosh, everyone, like, for me, it was that whole first episode.
I have to agree. Because obviously the first season really followed the source material to the letter.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the Rick Grimes I know.
Yeah.
Because I still read the books. So obviously seeing what's going on now and seeing his character shift a little bit here and there. And I know the biggest argument I have with people is, oh, well, he still has his hand.
Yeah.
Because the governor cut it off.
Right.
Way back when. And just seeing how that plays out. I mean, because that just showed Rick as a flawed character.
Yeah.
That he's not the confident leader of the group, that usually, like, when he has an idea, it always ends bad. Mm-hmm. But he's thrown in that role that he's not comfortable doing.
Yeah.
But I would have to say that, or the final battle between him and Shane.
Yes.
Because that was building up for so long.
That was like a pressure cooker getting ready to go off.
Yeah, and I think that was where The Walking Dead really excelled at, because you just saw, take away the zombies out of the equation, and you saw his former best friend, and obviously what happened involving Lori after his, presumed death, and just the whole animosity was building for so long to finally see it pay off in that fashion.
Well, and especially they started the one episode with Shane shaving his head and wiping the steam off of that mirror. And I remember watching that episode going, oh, crap.
Yeah, because, Shane lasted a lot longer than he did in the books, so to see how it played out, it was truly something. But in closing, though, it's going to be really interesting to see how the final farewell to Rick Grimes is going to be. I'm predicting a lot of flashbacks.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe off of the preview for this week's coming episode. They recreated the one scene from the first episode where he's riding into Atlanta. Now, granted, there's a boatload of zombies behind him, but still.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see the trip down memory lane into Andrew Lincoln. Thank you for your performance, and we'll be following up about it on next week's episode.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your performance of Rick and for really getting me into a world that I think, by and large, for his performance, more than anybody else's, if it wasn't for his performance, I don't think I would have kept with the show.
But let us know what you think. What's your thoughts on Rick Grimes leaving The Walking Dead? We want to know. Hashtag it up with us, ODPHEE. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio tank, taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio tank, taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back for another segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition. Now, there's some late-breaking news as we're recording, so Pat, why don't you kick us off with this?
Well, there's a DC movie coming down the pike that you might not have heard of. It might not be on a lot of your radar, so we're going to talk about it a little bit. There is a Birds of Prey movie coming. Now, for those who don't know who Birds of Prey are, Ken, why don't you tell us a little bit about them?
Now, Birds of Prey was kind of an interesting concept, and one I think is awesome, by the way. It was a partnership between Black Canary and Barbara Gordon, who was Oracle at the time, and kind of forming her own secret squad of super heroines throughout the DCU to, obviously fight crime.
Yeah.
And it was a very cool concept. The book is very well done. Gail Simone's run on the book has been awesome, too.
So if memory serves, they did a short-lived TV series by the same name.
Yes, the TV show doesn't do it justice.
That's what I've heard.
Yes. So, but the comic has been very, very well done. I mean, it was originally written by Chuck Dixon, and Gail Simone took over from, I believe, issue 56, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So, and everything she does is awesome too. So,
Oh, yeah.
So I gotta just say that, and obviously where they're going with the movie now, this is kind of interesting how they're tying it into the whole worlds of DC and where this fits in. Because as far as I know, for the casting for this film,
Yep.
there is no Barbara Gordon.
Not yet.
So, Pat, you got the casting listing right there?
Yeah, so of course, Birds of Prey is starring Margot Robbie, of course, reprising her role as Harley Quinn. It will also feature Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who will portray Huntress. Of course, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, you might know, she played Michelle in 10 Cloverfield Lane. She also played Ramona Flowers in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. It will also feature Jurnee Smollett-Bell as Black Canary. Of course, Jurnee Smollett-Bell, not really known for a lot. She's a recurring role in Friday Night Lights, True Blood, a couple episodes of Parenthood. So a couple, nothing real long, so nothing big yet. So this is kind of her first big breakout role, I guess you could say. And then you have Rosie Perez playing Renee Montoya. Of course, Rosie Perez, movies like Fearless, Untamed Heart, White Men Can't Jump, among many, many others. But that's not even the biggest casting news.
No, the casting news definitely was a surprise. I would say this. I did not see this actor joining the film in this role. But
I didn't see the villain coming. I didn't see the actor coming at all.
See, I thought the villain was going to be there because the villain is going to be Black Mask, which if you read Batman, you definitely know his story of being a crime boss in Gotham.
I'm saying if you played the video game Batman Arkham Origins, you remember him from that game.
You're right. So, obviously, but the casting was definitely wild, and this, I know, hits home to Pad very well. So, Pad, I'm going to let you take this one.
Hello there. It's one Ewan McGregor. Holy cow.
Yes.
Say, if you didn't know about the movie already, well, you do now.
Obi-Wan Kenobi is now joining the DCU.
Yeah.
Or Worlds of DC. I got to remember that's the new tagline for it.
Tomato.
But this is very interesting, and I love the casting.
Yeah.
I mean, everything so far for this film, I think, is definitely flying under the radar, no pun intended.
Very much so.
But this is just going to be a surprise hit, I think. Just
yeah.
The casting alone has been... I mean, I love Rosie Perez as Renee Montoya. I think that's going to be a scene stealer right there.
Yes.
But obviously adding Ewan McGregor to the show is going to be just something. I mean, or dare I say movie, because I'm thinking the show. But this is going to be just a really cool addition. And I'm interested to see where they go from here, because as far as I know, this is not going to be connected to the Justice League DCU.
To be determined. Nothing's really known about the story or the script or the plot or anything. Just all we know is casting right now. I think inherently because you have Margot Robbie, it's going to tie into the universe at some connection. How? Well, we'll see.
Well, yeah, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, she has a very lengthy deal signed with Warner Brothers to play Harley Quinn.
Okay.
So I fully suspect that this might fall under the banner. But I'm very interested to see where this plays out, because obviously the Birds of Prey, I'm excited to see the show, or to see the movie. I keep saying show. I don't know why. Probably because you mentioned it. And
it could be. And
I've been watching on the DC Universe lately, too. Either way, I'm excited for the movie. And I really want to see how this plays out, because, like I said, DC Films has really stepped up their game lately.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a lot of hype behind them. I mean, Aquaman is coming out in a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
Very shortly. Shazam kicks off the beginning of next year. Wonder Woman has been pushed back.
For whatever reason, there's nothing really. I haven't read anything really. Oh, it needs X, Y, or Z done to the film. There's really been nothing negative or even anything really about why it got pushed back.
No, there really hasn't been anything to say why. And I know there's a lot of people, including the panel, that's very disappointed it's pushed back. But we're eager to see it when it comes out. So for DC Films to obviously, have this casting, I don't want to say that it flies under the radar, but you don't really hear a lot about Birds of Prey. And as far as I know, they really don't have a really high profile since coming back in Rebirth. You hear a lot about other DC teams.
Sure.
So this one, I mean, they got a lot of potential to really kind of set their own bar and kind of carve their own path.
And it's big for DC because, obviously DC was first out the gate between DC and Marvel for first female movie. DC, or obviously Marvel's going to fix that when they come out with the Black Widow movie, but DC is going to be first out the gate here with its, and I'm guessing entirely, its first female centric team.
Yeah, which is awesome to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm excited to see it. Just they're going so many different routes with DC Films now.
which is great because comics by and large are not a one size fits all type of thing. There's stuff for those who like horror, such as Hellboy. There's stuff that I guess you could say you're vanilla, you're Batman, you're Superman, you're kind of more traditional stuff. And then there's even indie stuff for folks that are like, it's a little bit different, it's a little bit out there, but hey, it's for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see where they go from here. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential, and especially if they really want to expand the whole DC Films universe. Like I said, if they want to make it connect like Marvel, I mean, this is a perfect way to do some connecting.
Yeah.
If they want to make it standalone, I think it works either way.
Plus, if they want to introduce them in a future movie, this is a way to do it kind of organically and naturally without forcing it down our throats, much like Justice League did.
Yeah, because Justice League, I think they've learned from their mistakes there.
Yes.
Which, I mean, we can really critique Justice League if we really want to dig into it. I'd rather not. I'd rather say they're taking their time with the casting here, and they're really making some moves. For the lineup they have, I mean, obviously Barbara Gordon has not been added. I don't know if that was tying into the fact that she was slated to have her own Batgirl movie.
Yeah, it could be that entirely, or it could be they might, because I know Matt Reeves is working on a Batman movie. She could end up in that movie.
Yeah, which would make sense in some degree, but doing Birds of Prey without Barbara Gordon is kind of interesting.
She might get referenced.
I would imagine she should get referenced. I mean, she's one of the founding members of the team. And they know that the one member that I have not heard anything about is Cassandra Cain.
To be determined. From what I read earlier today, that announcement is to be determined.
Yes, which I'm excited to see what that casting is going to be, because they're taking their time with this film, and I like that they're doing it. They're not rushing into it to make something just happen to happen. Right,
and they definitely seem to be learning from their mistakes, a la forcing everyone into Batman v Superman. It seems like going forward, and this is just reading tea leaves and reading the computer screen, that okay, our hands are tied with who we've introduced. There's nothing we can really do at this point other than try to stop the damage. But it seems like okay, going for we messed up, we can't fix it now. It's the train's left the station. Going forward, why don't we do this a little better and a little more smartly?
And that's the perfect way to do this, because this film can definitely generate some hype for DC, and just to show that they're really taking their time to really showcase their heroes, and getting away from we need to compete with the MCU,
right?
Because they can't. I'm sorry, if they just focus on doing them, and they don't need to have per se a connected universe, or if they do, all right, fine, do a rebirth and just make sure it's connected, because I mean, obviously whatever's going on with Henry Cavill. He's, he may be Superman, he may not be. We don't know.
Yeah.
All signs point to no. Obviously, Gal Gadot is killing it as Wonder Woman.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to make her the centerpiece of the new DCU.
So you got to take that role from her cold, dead hands.
Absolutely, because she's crushing it. And obviously with the drama going on with Batman.
Yeah.
And we don't know who's going to be playing it, who's going to be in the movie, X, Y, and Z.
I don't think Matt Damon knows what's going on with that role.
I don't think anybody does. But you take out the DC Trinity, and to see that there's going to be some shine shown to other heroes, I think is really showing the strength of the DC universe.
And it goes back to kind of what I said earlier about the MCU going forward. Marvel Comics doesn't live and die off of what Captain America, Thor, Iron Man do in the comics. They help. They're featured prominently, but they're not in every book and every story. They're there, but the same can be said for DC. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, while they are featured prominently, they are the big three. They are in a lot of the stories. They're not in everything.
No, they're not. And there's so many other great heroes throughout the DCU that this is a perfect example of a team that can get really showcased of how great they are. And if they follow the source material, it's even better.
Yeah.
But you know me, I'm a stickler for following source material.
Oh, of course.
And obviously, the Birds of Prey have had some great stories throughout the years.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to watch. And obviously, with the casting, it just goes to show you, I mean, they're taking their time. They're really going to develop it. But let us know what you think. What's your thoughts on Ewan McGregor joining the Birds of Prey movie? We're excited, but are you? Hashtag it up with us, ODPHEE. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is the King of Lisle, Luke Visengard, Gladius 205 champion, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back for the final segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition. And Pat, why don't you start us off with those one-shots?
Well, if I'm going to talk anything in the one-shots, you know what it's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2. Holy good gosh.
Break it down for us.
Well, first of all, I got to get into the sales for this thing because the sales figures came in and they are, whoa boy. It is the number 2 fastest selling game of all time, selling $725 million in sales in 3 days. And I say number 2 because number 1 was Grand Theft Auto 5 in its initial release, which did like $1 billion in 3 days.
Wow.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
So digging into the game. So far, not far into the game, about 18% into the story. It is incredible, not only in visual, but in gameplay. I knew going into the game that the level of detail in this would be astounding. I mean, you look at Grand Theft Auto 5 and the amount of detail they put into that. So much so that down to when they introduced first-person mode in the re-release for PS4 and Xbox One, where you could look inside the cars and, like, you go to turn, and if you sit there, on occasion, they'll turn the blinker, and, like, when you sit in your car, you got the little arrow blinking. That's in the game.
Oh, wow.
If you go to change the radio station, there's a little display on the dash telling you what station it's on and what song is playing. So their level of detail is insane. The level of detail in this takes that and just beats it out back with a stick and takes its lunch money.
Wow.
Because obviously the game is set in the Old West. It's set in 1899, if I remember the case. And Old West, you have guns, repeaters, carbines, rifles, shotguns, the whole nine. Your gun will actually lose its condition over time with use, and you have to polish it and to bring that back up. You will get refused service if you go multiple days without having taken a bath. You have to eat food to replenish your health and stamina. You know, the hunting because obviously it's the Wild West, so it's not like you can go rob a bank. Well, you could, but it's not like you can go steal money from somebody and instantly have a couple $1 million. No. The biggest way to get money is to hunt animals and get their pelts and sell them. The animals are so lifelike and detailed to the point that, like, even if you're not looking at them, they will go running from you. And people are having I've been noticing on Reddit and Twitter and stuff, people are having a hard time hunting some animals because, like, there's this whole mechanic in the game where you crouch down, you press in on the thumbsticks, and it goes into, like, this tracking mode. And if there's a scent of something nearby, you can track it, you follow the tracks, and then you hunt it. Well, people are having issues not because of something wrong with the game, but just the AI of the animals is so lifelike and realistic that, like, they'll go running.
Okay.
And that, like, you can entice them by putting some bait down, but also, like, if you kill something, leave it there. I know somebody tried it with coyotes, and they enticed some coyotes because they were having a hard time getting coyotes because they kept running. But they left a dead coyote there, and, like, they came the couple other coyotes came looking for this thing, and that's how they got it. And plus you can interact and, like, greet, antagonize, or rob every single person in this game. Like, I've been playing through and I've been riding because the map is the biggest map they've ever done for a game. The size of the map is,
and that's saying something too.
Oh yeah, the map is insane. It encompasses the map partially from the Red Dead Redemption 1. It doesn't go into Mexico like Red Dead Redemption 1, but it does get up to the river that's, like, right by Mexico. But, like, you go riding along and you'll have a person say, "Howdy, partner. How you doing, sir?" Or whatever it is. Like, they'll say random things. And, like, you can, on PlayStation, you can hit L2 and then you can greet, rob, or antagonize. And, like, if you greet people, it ups your good, because there's a whole karma system in the game that was in the first one where you do good stuff, people, they'll all tend to look away more. They'll, you get better discounts at stores. But, like, before in the first game, it was like, oh, you just help people, you do missions, you choose the right way. Well, now it's even just riding around or walking around and greeting people. We'll be like, oh, hey, I like that guy. He's nice to me. The level of detail is insane, and I can't wait to dig into this more.
I mean, everything I've heard about Red Dead has just been phenomenal.
Oh,
I mean, it's been, 10 out of 10s across the board.
Oh, yeah. It's insane. It's easily going to probably win every Game of the Year award out there.
Well, I mean, the first one had so much to live up to that the second one is now setting the bar.
You can see why they took their time with this. My only complaint with this thing, one complaint, is gorgeous as it is, they don't have a photo mode.
Really?
Now, the thing for those who don't know, photo mode is this whole thing, because as beautiful as games have gotten, people will like to get to, they'll be running through, or they'll be going through a spot, they're like, oh, hey, this looks really nice. And either you press a button or you go into the pause menu, and it'll go into this whole, like, Photoshop looking thing where, like, you can move the camera around, you can do this, you can do that, and make a really nice photo. for whatever reason, maybe they'll add it later. I know, I believe it was God of War added it later. Maybe they'll add this later, but right now it doesn't have a photo mode, and I kind of want one.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some stuff that like you could pose as like a actual painting somebody did.
Okay.
It's so beautiful and it's so nice. The game is amazing.
I mean, it's just kind of crazy to see how much detail you think you can put into it. Because I mean, just seeing how from compared to the first one to how much more it's evolved.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just scary to think about.
And it's definitely got that, same feel as the first one, where you're going around, you find random people who need help. There's random occurrences. I know there was one point where I was riding to go do a mission, and this guy, because when you go riding along, these white dots appear on the mini-map, and it's a person you can interact with and needs help. And I go up to the guy, and he's trying to replace the horseshoe on his horse. And you can either offer to help him or not. I was like, I'll help the guy. He might throw me, a couple cents or a couple bucks. So I go to help the guy, and the guy stupidly walks behind the horse. The horse kicks him, kills him, and the horse runs off. Like, just the level of detail and just that they've put into this is insane. Because, you go riding along, and you run into people, you run into animals, and it's just like every time you think, okay, I've seen everything, oh my gosh, this is something new.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how crazy and wild it is to think about. Just because, it's a very simplistic idea, but just how detailed, and I don't want to say lifelike, but
it's lifelike.
But it's probably the closest thing you see.
I mean,
to
you hear the running joke with some games that it's like blank Simulator 18. This could literally be Wild West Simulator 18.
Yeah, that's just wild to even think about. No pun intended. But
yeah,
it's just how detailed and I almost how like lifelike. Like I know I've already said that, but it's just like how insanely detailed to just reflect the time period that is. And especially because how dated the material is. To see that how accurately it's been portrayed, I mean, that's just insane to see. So, I mean, that's going to be something to check out. So, if you're into video games, Pat, final recommendation on that?
Absolutely buy it. If you have not played Red Dead Redemption 1, you, in my opinion, do not need to have played Red Dead Redemption 1 to play this. I haven't run into them yet, but I would imagine there might be like some hints at stuff in the future that like you won't get. But if you go back and play the first one after that, you'll get it then. But first one, not required for this.
Fair enough. So, for my one shot, I got to give a shout out to Batman, the complete animated series has finally been released.
Yes.
I know a good friend of the show, John Guy Signal, I guess the man of 1,001 aliases, had it first day.
That lucky guy.
And we have not seen him since.
I understandably so.
But to see just how it's come out and just, if you want to talk about stuff that holds up over time, Batman the Animated Series is pretty much the perfect depiction of Batman.
Because you look at the show, by and large, you look at not just Batman the Animated Series, but like shows and movies in general. What might take away from them is how dated they are. I remember recently watching Mr. 3000. Of course, the movie starring Bernie Mac, where he plays a baseball player trying to get his 3000th hit. Great movie, but it's dated based on the technology that's in the movie. And you see this with a lot of movies where like, oh, it's a great movie, but like the cell phone's from the 90s. Ha ha ha. Batman the Animated Series, that's not really the case because it's set in such a time that like it could be present day. It could be back in the 20s. Who knows?
Yeah, they were so detailed in that aspect that it's kind of made it timeless for whenever you watch it, that you don't really sit there and go, oh, this is a period piece.
Right.
That you sit there and go, okay, this could be relative to real life, real time, so to speak. There are a couple things that are a little different. I know they rely on blimps a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of blimps.
Which is kind of different. But, for how they wanted to depict Gotham City, I think they nailed it right. Kevin Conroy has been the perfect voice of Batman.
Oh, yeah. For a lot of people, he is Batman.
Yeah, Mark Hamill, the Joker. The casting of voice actors just goes on and on and on about the show.
And especially the level of detail, like down to the sound effects in the show, where... Batman would go to throw a batarang, and it's not just a simple whoosh, but it's like an actual sound effect of it spinning through midair.
Yeah, everything about it. Even the spin-off movies, Mask of Phantasm.
Yeah.
What else can you really say about that?
One of the best Batman movies ever made.
Yeah, so if you have the chance to check it out and purchase it, we highly recommend it.
Oh, yes.
I've been watching on the DC Universe app, so I'll probably wind up getting it sooner than later. But just to say just how great it is something to definitely check out this week. And also talking DC Universe, I know we talked about Birds of Prey a couple segments ago. DC Titans is coming out with a new episode this week. And I've been checking it out, but now they're introducing the Doom Patrol.
I heard about this.
Yes, which if you're not familiar with, think of a very quirky X-Men.
Okay.
That's the easiest way I can describe it.
Okay.
But everything that they've done for their casting, I've been totally on board with.
Okay.
They're now getting introduced in the latest episode that is due to drop
That's a good
this
idea.
week. And it's kind of different of how they're going to explain them, and I'm not going to go into spoilers about it.
Okay.
But I definitely recommend checking out some of their books if you got the time to go check. If you're sign up for the DC Universe app, you can definitely check this out. But also go check it out if you can get to your comic book shops and ask your owners, hey, what's a good Doom Patrol book to pick up?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to be spinning off into their own show after Titans wraps up. I believe they're next on tap.
I believe so, yeah, because they're, if not filmed, they're filming.
Yes. And to get on board now is a good time because obviously Brendan Fraser being Robot Man, Matt Bomer's Negative Man, the casting has been spot on.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I've heard about, and I haven't seen any photos yet, is they put Cyborg on Doom Patrol.
I've read a couple articles about that. Okay.
Which I don't struggle with, but I kind of just go, this is interesting because he's never been tied to them in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
Beast Boy has history with Doom Patrol.
Sure.
So I get that. But I don't really get Cyborg being in there. But in fact, I think he should have been on Titans. But
Yeah.
remains to be seen. I think probably season 2, they're going to clean that up a little bit.
Say DC's, no matter what show it is, they've always taken liberties with their portrayals on TV.
Yes, as we've talked about with Birds of Prey, which it can either go hit or miss. But with the movies coming out, I mean, obviously they're making a really emphasis to really nail it. And like I said, DC Titans on the DC Universe app has been very interesting thus far. I'm super excited to see, though, Doom Patrol finally get on screen and just see how quirky they go over there.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to be checking out this weekend. But let us know what you're going to be checking out this weekend, too. Hashtag it up with us, ODPHEE. So that's all we got for this week. So for Padawan J,
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you, as always, for listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition. See you next time.